3.
This happened one day back when I was 17. I'm 24 now. I was living on my family's ranch, near McLeod, North Dakota. My job, when I wasn't tending to the various chores and trivial tasks of my family's ranch, was to transport the grain of farmers from around the area during harvest season. It was good pay considering all I did was drive from point A to point B. Also, what 17-year-old boy wouldn't want to drive a huge tractor across the beautiful prairies of North Dakota? Well, that's what I thought, until the fateful day of October 18, 2008. It was around 8 p.m., and I was doing my last load. It was dark, really dark. All I could see was the gravel road with my headlights of the tractor. I was about 10 miles from point A, heading another 7 miles until point B, when I saw 5 silhouettes of human figures appear on the road, blocking any way of passing. When my headlights finally made out that it wasn't just a hallucination, I immediately stopped the tractor. They just stood there stoically. They were wearing all red cloaks, and all gave an emotionless expression, as if they were mindless robots waiting for a command. Since they were blocking the road, and to the sides of the roads were ditches, I couldn't maneuver around them. For a good minute or two nothing happened, albeit it felt like an hour, before all of them said at once, in a unifying tone, "Get out." Even though it was said subtly, the dead silence of night, and my horrendous fear of the situation, I made out those words clearly. I was now batshit panicking. I didn't know whether they meant leave the place or get out of the tractor. I was hoping they meant get out of the place. The middle person then lifted up his cloak and revealed an axe. Suddenly, everyone ran off into the fields to the sides, except the person holding the axe. A few moments after, he just signaled toward the road in front of me, and again said, "Get out." He then proceeded to run off into the fields. I practically floored the tractor to point B. I notified the McLeod sheriff a few days later. He told me he would investigate. To this day, I am dumbfounded to why they stopped me on the road, only to tell me to leave. Were they just lowlives looking to prank someone? Were they some fucked up cult? Or did they think I was someone else who they were looking for? I don't know. I still continue to haul grain, but not at nights. Creepy red-cloaked people? Let's not meet.
Number 2.
When I was 13, my buddy Jake and I would spend a lot of time exploring and messing around in the forests and mountains that surrounded our town. We would often go on night hikes, sometimes for hours when there was a full moon. It was on one of these nights that I had the most fucked up, terrifying experience of my life. A place we would often hang out were these old ruins that sat at the bend of an old fire road. There were 2 buildings. One was a sort of smaller shack, and the other was a 2-story brick structure without a roof. Apparently, they were once used for logging or something. There was some funny graffiti painted on the walls. One of my favorites read, "Casey can't give a blowjob," and under it, in a different color in cursive, was, "No, Brian, you just have a small dick." I never really paid attention to some of the other graffiti, a lot of which was creepy looking symbols and long paragraphs of complete gibberish in red that took up entire walls. During the end of our summer break, there's a full moon out. It was a harvest moon, when the moon shines bright orange in the night sky. We decided to go out and head over to the ruins, build a little fire and look at the stars. We invited my neighbor and her friend to come with us, probably to try and play truth or dare or some shit. They were in our grade, and I thought her friend was cute, but they said it was too creepy out, and although they thought it sounded fun, decided they didn't want to go. To this day, I am beyond thankful that we didn't pressure the girls to go with us. I know deep down that some horrible shit could have happened if they did. So it's like 9 p.m., and I meet Jake by his house at the edge of a trail that led to the fire road, which was a few miles up the mountains and into the forest. We both had backpacks with water and food, flashlights and stuff. We never really used the flashlights unless we were trying to get through some difficult terrain. We enjoyed relying on the moon and starlight to guide us. About an hour into our journey, things start to get odd. Everything just felt different. I'd gone to the ruins at night a handful of times before this trip and never felt weird. The woods just seemed way too quiet. Although Jake didn't say anything, he seemed kind of uneasy as well. But neither of us was going to say I'm scared and bitch out, so we continued right along. We round a bend, and the ruins come into view about 100 yards away. We're surprised to see the glow of a fire reflecting off the walls of the brick building, and we can hear voices coming within. This wasn't the first time we had encountered people out here at night. We once ran into some older kids smoking weed that turned out to be cool and paid us $5 for some Cliff Bars. This felt different. Jake and I both slowed our pace. For what reason, I don't know, but it was like our instincts were telling us to be cautious. I grabbed Jake's shoulder, and we both crouched down on the path. We should hike up the ravine so we can get a better look at who's in there from above, I said, and Jake nodded in agreement. We stealthily make our climb up a slope and stick to the shadows as we approach the ruins. The closer we get, the clearer the voices become, and we can now hear that people are chanting and repeating what a louder voice is saying. We looked at one another, and each of our faces reflected a look of creeped out confusion. I think both of us wanted to get the fuck out of there at that point, but we both just had to see what was going on inside those ruins. We slid up behind a boulder and looked down into the brick building. Inside, there were about 8 people, men and women. Some were wearing creepy-ass animal masks. Others were barefaced with ghostly white makeup on. All of them were wearing black. 2 were smoking what looked like a meth pipe. The most fucked up thing was this one dude that had a big fucking antler headdress thing. Straight up devil cult shit right out of a movie. He was leading the chant, and they were all circled around a bunch of candles, set in a pattern with a big book, next to a dead fucking black cat in the middle. Jake and I looked at one another, and neither of us needed to say a word. We both slowly retreated back and made our way down the ravine. We walked at a steady pace, crouched down and kept close to the slope side of the trail, staying within the shadows. We come to that bend where the ruins first come into view, and as we're about to pass it, we both hear the sounds of approaching footsteps. There's literally nowhere to go. If we try to climb up the slope, the noise would easily be heard by whoever was coming towards us. So we just plaster ourselves against the rocky slope and tried to stay completely still in the dark. I watch the light begin to grow as it comes around the bend. Jake and I are both silent. Neither of us are breathing. I pull out a collapsible knife from my pocket and fold out the blade. My hand is fucking shaking. My senses are completely peaked. I've never felt such a flood of adrenaline in my entire life. The footsteps get louder, and the light grows larger, until a skinny 20-something pale guy, wearing all black and carrying one of those battery-powered lanterns, walks into view. His face was completely illuminated by the lantern. His face was riddled with scabs, and his mouth was hanging open, revealing brownish fucked up teeth. Clearly a meth freak. He's about 10 feet from us, walking briskly toward the ruins. For a second, I felt like he wasn't going to see us, but then he just froze. I'm guessing his peripheral vision noticed the 2 shadowy figures crouching in the dark to his right. I honestly think the guy was more terrified than we were. Jake and I knew he was coming, but he had no fucking idea we were there. He had that deer in the headlights look on his face, completely shocked and startled. The lights on his lantern were weak, so Jake and I were only somewhat illuminated. There was this moment of complete stillness, as we just stared at one another. There was no wind, no sound, and all I could feel was my heart pounding like a fucking jackhammer. It was like the world had fucking stopped. And then me and Jake just fucking blitzed the guy. We both smashed into him, and I guess it must have been the adrenaline, because we sent this dude fucking flying, almost sending him down a steep ravine. He cries out, literally screams at the top of his lungs, and Jake and I just start sprinting down the fire road. At this point, everything gets somewhat blurry. The adrenaline high made me sort of black out for like a minute. Although my memory is kind of foggy, this is what I remember happening. We are sprinting down the fire road, and the guy is screaming for help. For a second, I honestly thought I stabbed the dude when we attacked him, but I glanced down at my knife, and thankfully the blade was clean. I remember hearing Jake saying, "Fuck, fuck, fuck," as we booked it down the path. After the bend where we pushed the dude down, there's a long section of trail that kinda resembles a U and leads from one bend to the other. As we are halfway to the bend, I look back and see 4 people chasing after us with flashlights. We round the bend still sprinting as fast as we possibly could, then both scramble up the hillside and onto a thin deer trail that runs adjacent to the fire road from above. We slow down to sort of a jog, as we are trying to keep quiet and lose these fucking Satanist meth fiends. After a few minutes, we stop and catch our breath. We are both panting like dogs. Honestly, I could hardly breathe. "Dude, what the fuck? What the actual fuck?" Jake said, completely trembling from the whole ordeal. "I thought I fucking stabbed the guy, bro," I said, with my hand white-knuckled still gripping the knife. A few minutes pass, and we hear people arguing down on the fire road, about 100 yards or so behind us. We stealthily make our way back towards Jake's house. About 30 minutes later, we hear the distant sound of cars starting and tearing out of a parking lot that is a ways down in the valley at the other end of the fire road. And neither of us stop moving until we pass through Jake's back door, and we both literally collapse onto his kitchen floor, completely fucking exhausted and covered in dirt. Jake's older brother strolls in and laughs at us for laying there like idiots, but he notices the terrified look on our faces and calls his dad to come downstairs. We tell Jake's dad about what happened. He calls the cops and they show up. Don't really believe us or care. Actually, pointed out that we pretty much assaulted the guy and tell us to contact the park rangers and then leave. Ranger comes by the next day, says he'll check it out, and didn't hear shit from him. Jake and I gave up hiking at night, and I never went back to that fucking place ever again.
Number 1.
I got out of prison 2 months ago. I was offered one of 2 halfway houses by the local council. One in the city, and one in the countryside near the coast. I like the idea of the countryside better than the city since old habits die hard, and I thought the further away from temptation I am, the better. In my naivety, I pictured myself sunning by the beach and relaxing in a little holiday house. Right. So I found myself in this rundown old cottage in the middle of fucking nowhere. Stuck there with 2 big Polish skinheads who just got out for grievous bodily harm. I work sweeping up at a mechanic's down the road, but I'll probably chuck that in soon and just go on the dole. The skinheads were assholes, but I'm probably an asshole too. Anyway, we didn't talk. They took over one end of the cottage, and I was in the other. They play loud music and smoke weed all day. At least I have a job. They're gone now, but I'm getting ahead of myself. The dickhead from the council, who's supposed to check up on me once a week, hasn't even shown his face. It's bloody freezing. There's no heating and the roof leaks. I have no furniture, and I'm hungry and miserable. This creepy fucking view is what I get to look at over the back garden wall. Sorry for bad quality. My smartphone isn't very smart. So a week ago, about 7 caravans and 4 trailers Some big vans and a bunch of shitty old cars turned up on this field and took up residence. I assumed Irish gypsies, or maybe regular old travelers, which I would have welcomed both, to be honest, as it would have been a bit of company. But no, what we had was a regular fucking satanic cult. Oh, you think I'm exaggerating? Well, dear listener, let me enlighten you. The people that came out of the caravans were a mixture of white and black. They set up a big tent, like a circus tent, the first day, and I heard all kinds of weird music coming from inside. That's when I thought, born-again Christians. That was until I saw a few guys wandering around in white gowns and conical hats. I thought, the KKK have come to town, except they have black guys with them. That didn't make much sense. Anyway, here is a bloody awful zoomed in shot taken from my bedroom window. It's dusk, and you can't make out much because they were a long way away, but you get the general idea. So the second night, it all kicks off. There's a big bonfire, and these bastards are all coming out of their caravans and start dancing in these crazy outfits. Not just the KKK robes. Some of the black guys were wearing masks. Others had these big, I don't know how the hell to describe them, like palm tree hats. And there was one guy wearing what I can only call a goat's head. It was just that. A goat's head. Cut off and worn like a goddamn hat. So I snuck out of the house, over the garden wall, and got as close as I could to take photos. Here's a dude with a palm tree hat, jiving around the bonfire. Again, sorry about the crappy quality. It was night and they were dancing around a fire. I did the best with the tools I had. Anyway, here's another of the same dude. I know what you're thinking. Is this all this idiot has? Some dodgy photoshopped grainy pics? Trust me, I was not prepared. And I'm as frustrated as anyone that I didn't get better shots. I was using a shitty phone camera. These pictures are amazing considering. Later, I would be prepared though. Anyway, it's Friday and I wake up feeling weirded out. The partying went on into the small hours and I haven't had much sleep. I didn't dare put on any lights in my room in case they found out someone lived here. To be fair, from the outside, I'd be amazed anyone lived here. So I went looking for the Polish guys to see what they made of it. What did they make of it? I don't know, cause they were gone. I mean, their stuff was still here, and about a ton weight of unused weed, and a few crates of stolen beer, but no Polish skinheads. They have their own back door on their side of the cottage, leading into the kitchen that only they use. And I notice it's knocked in. The lock's all smashed to shit and the window is broken. There's glass on the floor inside the kitchen, and there's a big boot print on the outside. Did the Poles piss off the wrong person? I don't think so. And you're coming to the same conclusion I came to, right? Well, I didn't like those Poles, but I was damned if I was going to let them become Satan's next sacrifice. So I snuck out the back again, over the wall, and made up for the campsite. It was deserted, nobody there. I snuck into the big tent. It was empty, but there were weird red stains on the floor, and a massive pentagram made with melted candles, like tea lights all close together to make lines. Nobody was home though. So I snuck around the caravans, and that's when I found a black bomber jacket. Both the skinheads wore these. One of them was torn inside and missing a sleeve. That was bad news. I checked the door handle on one of the caravans, the biggest on site. It was locked, but I let myself in anyway. What can I say? I've had a lot of practice at this. And this, dear listener, is where things got fucking bizarre. This caravan, inside, was like something out of a movie. Books, pictures, little carved wooden things, dolls and shit. I knew I was going to post these pictures here, so I ripped off some paper and grabbed a pen and wrote some proof while I snapped off some photos for you to see. I didn't take pictures of the caravan interior. I wasn't supposed to be here, let's remember. The pics I did take could have been anywhere. Here they are. The front cover of a huge book on a table is surrounded by melted candles. Inside the book. Don't ask me what the writing is. I have no idea. The picture again, but zoomed out. It looks like Cthulhu. You want proof? You can't handle the proof. The picture from above, without my hand in the way. And another, you get the idea. Here's a picture from another old book on the same table. A weird black picture or a photo on the wall. This one is some freaky shit. Don't look at it if you're home alone. Then, lo and behold, I find a picture of the Big Cheese himself. The dude I'd seen the night before in the Goat's Head. I wonder if this was his caravan. A photo of a photo. Sorry it's a bit blurry, but my hands were shaking. So that's a little album I compiled. I didn't find the Poles, and the whole gang came back that afternoon in their cars. I've been holed up since then, and things have gotten a lot stranger since. I can't put it all down now because this new phone is running out of juice. I need to go out and get more credit too. But I have to tell you about what happened this morning, and I still have to tell you what I think happened to the Polish. My phone's nearly out of juice. Just to say, they know I'm here. They're fucking with my head. I don't know what'll happen to me, but I doubt it'll be good. Maybe I'll go to the police. Don't make me laugh.